Hello there everyone, welcome back to Disclosures of the Third Kind, episode 4. Before we start this episode, I'd like to dedicate a quick talk to Mr. Nick Pope, who passed away only 2 days ago. A true backbone in ufology, if you will. I'm sure everybody else who watches my videos will know Nick Pope very well. I emailed Nick Pope in November, actually, and reached out to him. He's a very, very helpful man. He shared some insight into the Roswell UFO second crash site. He shared some CIA documentation with myself as well. So, yes, rest in peace, Mr. Nick Pope. You will be sorely missed. But, yes. So, I'd like to dedicate this video to Nick Pope. So, without further ado, let's get into the video. Episode 4, The Missing General, Mr. Neil McCasland. And I want to look at the parallels between him and James V. Forrestal, who we know was in Majestic 12. Is there foul play involved here, folks? That is the question, and that is what we're going to find out. A retired Air Force general vanishes in 2026. A Secretary of Defense dies in 1949. Both men stood close to the center of America's military secrets. So why do so many believe these were not just ordinary events? On February the 27th, 2026, retired U.S. Air Force General Major General William Neil McCasland left his Albuquerque home on foot and has not been heard from since. Authorities issued a silver alert, and as of mid-March 2026, investigators said they had not ruled out anything, but also had no evidence linking his disappearance to UFO research. So reporters also said that McCasland had experienced what officials described as mental fog before he vanished. This is an important factor, folks, because if you look at James V. Forrestal, they also said the same about James V. Forrestal, who was sent to the Bethesda Mental Institute / Hospital in February of 1949. Now, I find it interesting because both men clearly have been put under this spotlight of, well, they're just mentally unwell. Is there something else to this? It's interesting, isn't it? Because 400 other scientists have also gone missing, as well as Mr. McCasland. But we won't cover that in this video today. This is just about Neil McCasland. Because McCasland once commanded the Air Force Research Laboratory at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, a base long surrounded by UFO lore, and is where it is believed that the debris bodies and the craft were sent when they were collected from Roswell in early July 1947. His disappearances immediately triggered speculation, quite rightly so as well. Wright-Patterson has for decades been linked in popular UFO history to the alleged storage and recovery of UFO materials. Although the US Air Force has repeatedly denied possessing extraterrestrial technology or bodies, it still begs the question, what did Mr. McCasland, or what does Mr. McCasland know, and why is it in these covert, secret, black pod projects' best interest to get him out of the way? So tonight I want to ask a difficult question. Was this simply a missing person case involving a retired general, or are people seeing a darker pattern because of what McCasland represented? Now, to be clear, there is no public evidence that McCasland was about to expose secret UFO programs. There is also no confirmed evidence in the public record that he was involved in extraterrestrial retrieval programs. What we do know is that he sat near the top of some of the Air Force's most advanced aerospace research structures, and the fact alone has made his disappearance highly charged in the minds of many researchers like myself. Now, the information he would know would be of utmost importance to many. We do know for a fact that Mr. McCasland was corresponding with Tom DeLonge of Blink-182, who is very interested himself in ufology and documentation regarding ufology. And we do know that there was some very interesting conversation between the two, and that is available on the Black Vault, but we won't go into that today. But that brings us to the comparison so many people want to make. James V. Forrestal. Forrestal was the first US Secretary of Defense. He resigned in March 1949 and died after a fall from Bethesda Naval Hospital on May 22nd, 1949. Official historical sources describe his death as suicide following a period of severe mental and emotional decline. That is the official record. But Forrestal, like McCasland, became surrounded by later theories. Again, we've seen the MJ12 documents. We know James V. Forrestal's name is on there. We know that shortly after Forrestal's death in 1949, the documents state that his death basically left a gap in MJ12 personnel and it had to be filled, which it was a year later. But it does beg the question, was Forrestal about to expose something regarding extraterrestrial visitation or anything to do with Roswell? It's the same with McCasland. We see this correspondence between him and Tom DeLonge of Blink-182 for quite some time, and then mysteriously goes missing because of mental fog. A pattern starts to emerge, and it's not a good pattern either. Although the Majestic 12 documents themselves remain deeply contested by many, both in the UFO field and outside the UFO field, among debunkers and skeptics, there is documentation coming out now that is beginning to support the fact that MJ12 actually did exist. We do have documentation like the Cutler Twining memo, which states that in effect President Dwight D. Eisenhower cancelled his meeting with MJ12. We have work by Ryan S. Wood that states clearly that the Majestic 12, there is more to the Majestic 12 than meets the eye. There is much documentation, such as this document here, which clearly states military assessment of the Joint Intelligence Committee, and it was written on the 19th of September 1947, and this is a real document. It actually states, in effect, that examination of unidentified disc-like aircraft near military installations in the state of New Mexico, a preliminary report. Now, we know this is 4 days before the Majestic 12 was set up on the 23rd of September 1947 by Harry S. Truman. Now, if this document doesn't clearly show that Majestic 12 was set up and the language used, as you can see, MAJIC, clearly shows that magic was used on these documents, then I don't know what is. This was brought together by UAP GERB. Thank you to UAP GERB for this document. But yes, so the Majestic 12, there is more to the Majestic 12 than meets the eye. I think the skeptics and debunkers will quickly tell you that, well, Majestic 12 is just a hoax, but we have documentation like this to prove that it wasn't. So what do we have here? Forrestal was at the summit of the early Cold War security state. McCasland stood near the summit of modern Air Force research and development. And whenever men at that level disappear, fall, break down or die under troubling circumstances, people ask whether the official story is the whole story. That is where the suspicion begins, but suspicion is not proof, unfortunately. Until we have the documents, we cannot show beyond that. So my position in this episode is a careful one. With McCasland, we have a live mystery, but no public evidence yet of foul play tied to UFOs. Authorities themselves say they have not ruled anything out, but they have also not pointed to any UFO connection. With Forrestal, we have a death that has inspired decades of speculation, but the official historical record still says suicide. And yet, taken together, these two cases reveal something important about the psychology of secrecy in America. When the state keeps too much hidden for too long, every disappearance becomes suspicious. Every death becomes a possible silencing. Every official explanation becomes something people feel they must look past rather than trust. So, was there a covert organisation behind both mysteries? At this stage, that remains a theory, not an established fact. And until that point, we can't say any more. So the deeper question may not be whether we can prove a covert hand in both cases. The deeper question may be this: how many mysteries begin when the public no longer trusts the institutions that are supposed to tell the truth? Because let's face it, folks, if the Air Force really were telling the truth about Roswell and all other UFO cases, we wouldn't still be talking about this today. This has been another disclosure of the third kind. If you have enjoyed this video, folks, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this. I just, like many of you, want the truth out, and I believe this year or the next will be a year of real disclosure, but I don't think it will happen fast. I think it will be a very slow process. And if you have enjoyed content like this too, please do check out my book, Beyond Roswell, Cold War Cover-Ups and Conspiracy Theories. This can be found on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, W.H. Smith, and many other great book retailers. It's available just online at the moment, but I'm pushing to get it in bookstores at this point. But yes, please do check that out, and thank you for watching.